What is the meaning of the dark night of the soul? You might have heard about the dark night of the soul, whether it's in reference to a spiritual experience or in terms of storytelling. The dark night of the soul is an old concept, as in it's a concept that is actually a few hundred years old, but is making a resurgence in the spiritual community. It's a way to describe a moment in our lives that you might have already experienced, a moment in your life that you might have or might be experiencing now. So what is it really? What is this dark night of the soul? The dark night of the soul is that moment when life loses meaning. It is usually incited by an event. Maybe you lost someone that you love. Maybe you had some kind of life disaster that you went through. Maybe a certain health diagnosis. Whatever it is, it's that moment when life loses meaning, when all of life in a way explodes and we feel utterly lost. Nothing makes sense anymore. And we look around at the world, and this is very, very frightening because what we thought we knew is not what it is now. This is very scary because what's happening here, the ego, that side of us, that has in a way kept us a prisoner into interpreting the world in a very compulsive way, has begun to be shaken, has begun to be threatened. And so in a way, the dark night of the soul is the death of a certain aspect of yourself, and that death is the death of the ego self, the egoic self. And what happens at this point is that the ego realizes that it's just simply an appendage of you, and in a way your true self begins to come forth. So while the dark aspect of it is this frightening experience that we don't get anything anymore and life feels completely meaningless, we don't know what it is, once we get through it, this side of us dies, and the ego realizes that it is just simply an extension, an appendage of who you are. That means it's not really necessary. And so as your true self begins to come forth, as your true self rebirths, then your life has new meaning. And so what does this mean? Because sometimes we are so engulfed in the dark night of the soul that we don't know if you're going to come out to the other side. And sometimes we want to give up before we make it through the process. This is the time when many people feel frightened to the point of wanting to actually kill themselves. It's a place where suicidal attempts and suicidal thoughts can emerge from or reach their peak, because what happens is we are here and we feel that a side of us is dying, but we mistake the side of us as dying as our true self dying, but it isn't. It is the side of us that has lived in the illusion of reality, is a side of us that we must let go of in order to now awaken to truly what life is about, to what reality is about. So if you are going through this process now, realize that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And what the light at the end of the tunnel is this rebirth. So what happens as you go, and in a way, what is good to do at this moment that is naturally happening, but that you are fighting, is realizing a sense of ignorance, that what you thought you knew isn't what it is. And so when you realize, when you let go and you say, it's okay, I'm going to admit I don't know anything, then you are truly knowing something. And as you do that, you let go of the weight of the things that you thought you knew that aren't so, and now you make room for something new. And so instead of just going through life compulsively giving meaning to everything, you are now awakened to it. So you look around you, and instead of just right away giving a meaning to something, you look around you and you say, so this is what it is. You start paying attention more. You're not just asleep at the wheel, you are awakened. You are awakened to the truth of what it is to be part of the cosmic universe, what it is to be part of this reality, and what it means to actually ascend, to ascend internally, to ascend spiritually, and to ascend in your reality. So, again, The most important part of this, once you have accepted that you have entered a dark night of the soul, is to accept that you are in a way a fool and you don't know what you do know. When I entered my dark night of the soul, there was a complete dissolution of who I was and what I thought the world was. And though in the moment it was very difficult to get past it because the ego is so strong and is trying so hard to maintain your version of reality as it is, as you let it go, as you swift past it, though sometimes it feels like you are swimming through, you are scratching through this darkness, this unknowingness, this meaninglessness. As you actually get to the other side, you realize that that level of unknowingness really bathes your life with a freshness. That's truly the rebirth. You are rebirthed. You are now fresh. You are reawakened to life in a new way. You are like that child, but now, instead of that naivete of the child, you preserve the innocence, but now you have gained a new level of wisdom. And that wisdom can only be gained by experientially going through the dark night of the soul.